All right. I'm not sure who sent this, but will eating garlic give opponents an advantage on me? Eating garlic. I'm gonna toss this over here so I don't pull it back out again. What do y'all think? Now, I already said I'm a vampire, not a vampire, but I am a vampire, And I could tell you that. I'll explain to you how the vampire character. Before I answer this eating garlic, I'm going to explain to you how the vampire character came along. So, I spent 18 years of my life with a lovely, insane, beautiful, crazy creature named Luna Vachon, right? So, we're 18 years together and stuff. So, one day, as I was struggling after my, I was a black arts, and I'm sure we'll get to that at some point in our many hours to come in this lifetime here. Well, I'll break down all my different characters and different things. So I was in between characters very early in like my career. So about into 1990, 91, I was trying to figure out what to do. And we're having what they call a baloney blowout. Now, I don't know if you know what a baloney blowout is. Let me put this on my neck because I've had too many baloney blowouts. Get that down there. All right, so they're choking me out because I goozle from too many blowouts. Baloney blowout is it basically where you just get all these, like, I don't want to say it's junk food. It might be some people's gourmet food, but cheese, bologna, salamis, different things, maybe some wine or whatever you drink. But you sit around on a Sunday and you can either just talk, whatever, shoot ideas at each other, or watch a movie or something like that. So to this particular Sunday, we're all home and we're just chilling, me and her. So she was with a wrestler for a long time. His name was Dick Slater. Before I came along, and old Tricky Dicky Slater. He was one of the guys I used to love watching him because Dick Slater was like, so Rusty helped train me, so with Boris, but Rusty was the biggest one. So Rusty would do Dick Slater, who Dick Slater was actually doing Terry Funk. So I got a watered down version, and I'm not saying Rusty you're watered down or nothing, but I'm just saying. So Dick Slater was doing Terry Funk, and so then Rusty was imitating Dick Slater, and then so did another wrestler named Bob Cook that he did Terry Funk. So it was another influence in me. He's a West Coast Florida wrestler named Bob Cook. He was one of the damn Yankees, and he was also like I forget what kind of superstar gimmick he had, but whatever. I got to get back to this question, but we're watching the movie The Lost Boys, okay, and it's a cool movie. I don't know if you've seen it. Go do yourself a favor. See it. Death by Stereo. One of my favorite kill scenes. But so we're watching The Lost Boys, and at the end of the movie, I was just sitting there, and I was just I was half goofing, but half serious. But I didn't think it would could ever work. And I said to her, "It'd be really cool to wrestle as a vampire." Now, wind this back. This is like the end of 1990, 91, like something right in there. There's no vampires in wrestling, man. Like, you're talking about being a vampire. I mean, Jerry Lawler might have pushed the limits with some kind of mummy things or the Yeti or whatever. There might have been some of these things, I'm not sure, happen. There's some characters and stuff. But man, a vampire, like, especially I considered myself a serious wrestler, but I don't know how I did because I did the Blackheart things too, which was futuristic for its time. But a vampire, that's what I threw out there. I say, it'd be cool to wrestle as a vampire. And then I went to renege on it and go, no. She goes, no, you could. That'd be great. And I go, no, I can't wrestle as a vampire. And she goes, yeah, you can. To be honest with you, no, you can't do that. These old times, no, I'm going to get in trouble. I'm not going to get no heat like that, because wrestling was it was very protected, more secret society, brotherhood type of thing. That whole old brother generation, that's kind of like not around anymore. And some of it was bad, some of it was good, but a lot of it was negative how they did things. But so we talked about it. Now I'm going to get back to your garlic question. Don't worry. So we talked about it, and I said, no, man. And now you got to remember, I was in between going to Japan and stuff like that. You still had to make a living. I still had bills to pay. I still had babies. For some reason, I couldn't figure out how to contain that thing, keep having babies. So there's bills to pay. So I had to work. I had to do something in between, but it had to be a job that I could leave and go wrestle, be able to go back to Japan and stuff. Because like I would do a month and then be off 2 months and go to Japan. Like, well, you can only stretch a month with Japan money for so long. So I was out working for my uncle had a landscape company, so I was out there cutting grass, and this Spanish fellow comes up to me, and I should have known he was a wrestler because he'd come up, he was bald, he had a big beard, and he was in flip flops, but his toenails was painted like pink. And I'm like, oh man, I hope I don't get raped. I'm like, what's this guy coming over here for? He's all sweating, and he goes, hey man, you look like a wrestler. Oh, immediately I went, boom, chest out. Hell yeah, because I had this like little mohawk, blonde hair going on, and I'm like, yes sir, matter of fact, because I'm holding a lawnmower. Yeah, I'm a wrestler, like with a lawnmower in hand, Yeah, I'm a full-time wrestler, part-time lawn guy. But yeah, right. But he said, well, you look, and I told him, yeah, and he goes, yeah, I help out in the office in Puerto Rico and stuff, and I thought he was full of it because I wasn't quite sure who he was because I hadn't spoke to Luna yet. Luna knew everybody, but I hadn't spoke to her yet. And he goes, yeah, my name's Barabbas, and blah 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 blah. So I'm like, so he says, hey, he told me he's in Puerto Rico. So he says, what kind of character you do? And I think Puerto Rico, I'm thinking, rest in peace, Bruiser Brody, these like Abdullah the Butchers. I'm like, I can't tell him, like, I'm not doing the Blackheart thing anymore. And certainly can't use that Pretty Boy Dave Heath that I did my first few matches as that I hated so much. And I shouldn't use the word hate. Hate's a strong word. I dislike so much that the Pretty Boy Dave Heath character. It was just like a joke and a rib. Rusty was ribbing me all the time. But that's what they do to you when you start now. And so I go, I wrestle as a vampire. And he goes, oh, yeah, what's your name? I went, I couldn't think of anything out of the Lost Boys at the moment. I said, Lestat, like Tom Cruise interviewed a vampire. Lestat. I said, yeah. Somehow Lestat got transferred to Lester the vampire somehow, but whatever. I don't know. I guess they had to throw an R in there because, the Latins love to roll those R's like amazing. So it became, but whatever. So I said that I'm bluffing off. I've never wrestled with this character. We just watched the movie The Lost Boys, and it was just an idea and a thought, and that I never thought I would do. He goes, can you bring me a picture tomorrow? And I was like, yes, sir, yeah. Because I was super excited that somebody's even asking me about wrestling, It was really hard to get booked as a wrestler back then. It was super, super hard. It's not like now. There was no internet and YouTube links and downloads. You had to mail off a VH. You had to put a VHS together, beta or something of a highlight reel. But you had to be able to wrestle somewhere to get a highlight reel that had some kind of TV you're filming, or an 8x10 with all your stats on it. So I said, I don't have any tapes. And he says, can you just bring me an 8x, give me a picture. You got pictures, right? I go, yes, sir. Yeah, of course I do. No, I didn't have any pictures. So I'm in a panic we pulled in between jobs. I go, and, there was no things at the time, and I knew it was gone, so I had to call a beeper number, like the old school beeper. So I'm beeping into the payphone. So I'm hoping she's going to call me back before we have to leave to the next job. And she calls back. She goes, I go, have you ever heard of somebody called the Barabbas or something? She goes, the Puerto Rico? I said, yeah. She goes, yeah, he's down in Puerto Rico. I go, oh, so he's legit? She goes, yeah. I go, well, I just told him I wrestle as a vampire. She goes, you did? Yeah. I go, yeah. He goes, he wants pictures. I go, I don't know what to do. She goes, don't worry, vampire. You'll be a vampire. I'll make you a vampire. She didn't call me vampire then, but it became later, man. She goes, don't worry. We'll figure it out. Or So I hurry home, and I don't have anything, so I make shift. I used to wear like a butcher, so I had full things as the Blackheart, so I didn't really have anything. So I actually threw a pair of old Dick Slater trunks on, and took the Blackheart thing, threw it over my shoulder. But I go, supposed to be a vampire, so she spiked the mohawk up, so I had the mohawk up, so it was spiked up and put some crazy, kind of like what Kevin Sullivan used to do, some crazy eyebrows. If you see the '93 Rookie of the Year, you'll see that kind of the facial look I had with the hair, but then the gear was different though. So I threw it together. I go, what are we gonna do for fangs? She goes, I got an idea. So she breaks out. She was the queen of press on nails, right? So she breaks out these nail kit, and she starts sizing the nails up to my canines. Yeah, that'll work. So we cut them like a vampire tooth, painted them the closest color that matched my teeth, and then super glued them on. So this might explain a lot of my rambling. Is the 8, 10, I don't know how many years of huffing super glue every night, wrestling so full time. So, because every time I put one of them on, my nostrils would burn, my throat would burn. I'd be like, oh, what the heck? So so the super glue could explain a lot of my problems right now. If you guys are trying to figure me out and my wording and how blame it on the super glue and the fangs. So we super glued the fangs on. So if you could picture that, here we are, cutting them up, sizing them up, painting them, and then super gluing and holding. And sometimes your finger would be stuck. You're like, you get it off. But this is what we did, and it turns out this is what it did. every night for years and years, all the way through Memphis and stuff. Super glue the fangs and nails. So we do that. We get a picture, and then I take it down there, and he goes, you know, and then you got to remember, I wasn't too how to put. You had to put your height and your weight and stuff on the back of it. So I had a couple of them. He didn't like. I put my legit height and weight and everything. He goes, no, amigo. I had 6'2". He goes, no, 6'3", 6'4", 6'3.5". I was like, oh, okay. He says, just trust me. Put it in. He put it there. And then the weight was like 220 or something. He had me to put to like 240 or 245 or something. I'm like, are you sure? He goes, yes, yeah. I'm like, well, he's asking me, so he must know. So he put the weight. I put the weight. I put all these gimmick things on there, and he took it. He took the picture. I didn't hear nothing for a week, 2 weeks. It wasn't very long. Sure enough, I get home. We had the old school answer machines. You had to hit to hear it. Yay, you know. There it was. They said, hey, we have your picture down in front of us. We have this big show coming in. We're starting up this company. And it was the first company that went against opposition of Carlos and them after the whole Bruiser Brody incident, which is a whole other story, unfortunately. I'm sure if you've seen the Dark Side of the Rings and you're wrestling fans, you know what I'm talking about. But so they opened up opposition of them. It's a sad, long story. I don't have to go into it right now, but I will one day. And some of the fears and stuff like that on a different story, because I still got to get back to the whole garlic. Is it a weapon or something? So I haven't forgotten. So here we are. They call me. You want to come in for a show? Oh, great. I'm so pumped, but I'm really scared because of like what happened down there. You know, all us dudes were like scared. You're like, you're going down there? Because it just happened not too long ago. And so I go down and I wrestle Jose Luis Rivera Jr. Now, I go in there and they said, you're going to go in and you're going to wrestle and then you're just going to bite him. And you're just going to keep biting him and you're going to be covered in his blood. You're going to drink his blood. Well, I was very eager, so I drank his blood. I was licking him and biting him. And the whole thing was that I got DQ'd because he would just bleed so much and I keep biting him. And he would be like, you know, I don't know if I could cuss on here or not, but he would always, I'm going to say it, so if you're offended, I'm sorry, but he'd always be like, fuck you, beach, fuck you, beach. I'm like, what? Who we going to the beach? Oh, fuck you, beach. And he'd just be, like, he'd going on and there's blood everywhere, and I'm super nervous and green, you know, and I had only worked in Stampede in Japan at this point, so that was a very, like, a solid style, you know, so I'm, like, pounding and clubbering, and so the bell rings, whatever, the match is done, and I'm thinking, well, I don't know if they liked it. Nobody said anything. So that was a Saturday night. My flight was Monday for some reason. I don't know why, but it was a Monday. And they had sent somebody over. Oh, excuse me. Ooh, see, all them energy drinks in the morning. No good before a podcast. No good. But so they sent somebody over and said, hey, amigo, the office wants to talk to you. Can you come by on Sunday? We'll pick you up. I'm like, oh no. like I didn't know what to think, you know, in my mind, you know, this whole Bruiser Brody thing had happened, you know, I'm a young kid, I don't know. So I had a million thoughts. So I go down, they take me to the office, and it was Savio Vega, Quang, I don't know what you know him as, you know. So some people just call him Uncle Savio, I call him Savio. He's a very good man, very good person, and very dear friend. Now, not then, so I was intimidated because this guy paints his face up like a ninja and kick people. So he's there. He's sitting at a desk, and he has that picture. And he's looking at the picture, and he's like tapping on the picture and looking at me, tapping on the picture, and he flips the picture over. And he goes, so, 6'3", 6'4", huh? And I go, Mohawk. I counted the Mohawk because I would straighten the Mohawk up. He would look at me, turn his head sideways, kind of like a dog does, inquisitive. So then he goes, hey, what do you have, AIDS or something? It's 240. I'm like, diet. I didn't know what to say. I said diet. And he just started laughing. He goes, goony goo. You want a job? I go, yeah. He goes, you start tomorrow. So I started the next day. I didn't go home for almost a year. I didn't go home. I went and bought clothes out of whatever the version of a Kmart was or whatever, and gear, and I moved on. So that's how the vampire character evolved and came along, and it started in Puerto Rico was the first place, and that's where it grew from there. So, does the question, after all that, does garlic give an advantage to my opponent? No, it does not, because anybody that knows me or has followed me throughout social media throughout this time knows that at one point I actually had a hot sauce flavored garlic flavored hot sauce. So it does not. The only way it would give it advantage is if you just ate too much garlic before the match and I couldn't stand your breath. Then I wouldn't want to try to get close to you. Other than that, I wouldn't want to call any spots. I wouldn't want to call anything. I'd be like, go brush teeth. But anybody knows if you're eating raw garlic and eating too much of it, you just can't get rid of that overnight. That takes a little while to get that up off you. So no, it does not give an advantage. And I'm sorry that you had to listen to 15 minutes or whatever to get that advantage. But no, it does not, right? So question answered. We good?